Pike, and it just flew right over us. As I said, full speed, and I told my husband, it's going in the Pentagon, it's going in the Pentagon, and then we heard the huge crash, saw this fireball and flame, and...
I was up in the air traffic control tower, and the soldier went downstairs to the restroom, and as you look out the side of the building, I see a plane run right into the side of the Pentagon. And when it did, the whole ceiling and everything just fell.
It was bumper to bumper. We were all stopped. I was probably about 100 yards from the Pentagon when I heard this screaming sonic boom and saw the jet come screaming across the highway. It was an American Airlines jet, silver with the markings along the windows, and within seconds it hit the side of the Pentagon.
Number of injured?
Have no idea at this point.
Size of plane?
According to the eyewitness, he said that it looked like a corporate jet, but I have no official word on that at this point.
Still have conflicting reports over what size plane hit. We heard one eyewitness tell us that it was a small plane that he seemed to see as he was coming across the 14th Street Bridge. Believe it or not, somebody else said they saw something as big as a 757. We just don't have the confirmation for you yet.
Well, we were on Columbia Pike where the shelter is, and all of a sudden you can hear the noise coming first, and then you can feel the shaking of the building. And we just looked up out of the window, and I saw the tail end go.
What size plane?
It was for me, it looked like a big size plane. It was definitely a passenger plane.
And we were stuck in traffic. We're coming off the exit here, and I looked up and I saw this American Airlines jet coming in very low, and I watched it, and it clipped. I don't know if you can see it over here. It clipped this pole over here.
The emotion
slammed right into the building. Huge explosion.
Now you're sure it was an American Airlines plane?
We were stuck in traffic, could not move. I could see the big AA, the silver jet itself. I thought it was a 737. I may be mistaken there, but there was no doubt about it. It was American Airlines slammed right into the building, and there was no doubt about it. Whoever was piloting that plane was aiming for the Pentagon.
And we do know they hit a taxi cab. The plane hit a taxi cab up here on the bridge, the overpass.
I didn't know that. I did not see. I saw the ball of fire, and I saw it clip these poles, and then the billowing smoke, a gray column of smoke, and then pandemonium. I recognized that the plane was coming in low, and I started watching it. And of course, I was listening to the radio, and I just heard the president's address about the attack in New York. And I thought it looked funny, but I didn't put two and two together. And then it sheared off the top of that pole over there, slammed into another pole, went right into the building. And I looked over to the side, and I saw this jet coming in, and it was really low. And it was an American Airlines jet. You could read the AA on the side, silver fuselage, and it kind of disappeared over this embankment here for a moment, and then huge explosion, flames flying into the air, and just chaos.
Yeah, and David Beardsley, who writes for us and who lives over near Fort Myer, not far from there, said his whole house shook. And
he actually felt it.
Yeah, and the cats scattered, he said.
Have been able at all to see the aircraft?
Well, you know, earlier today I got right up next to the building and I took a look at some of the pieces that were outside. They were only very small pieces of that American Airlines jetliner. A cockpit that was a window that was all smashed, part of the fuselage that was bent and twisted. But most of the parts of the plane are still inside the building, according to people who've been in and seen it.
Mitchell was right there. We watched it go in front of us at a distance of about 100 feet in front of us and about 20 feet over us. It appeared as if we were landing right on our roof. We looked, we watched it go into the Pentagon.
I was in the traffic on the 14th Street Bridge, right at the Pentagon, tied up going into town, and I heard this plane come over my head. It was really low.
What size plane?
It sounded like a small plane, but it was very, very low. And the next thing I know, there was this tremendous explosion as it hit the Pentagon. I looked over, and the smoke started coming up. Pieces of the plane and pieces of the Pentagon were falling onto the 14th Street, onto the Shirley Highway.
One eyewitness I talked to who was on this busy highway outside the Pentagon this morning said he saw an airplane coming directly over his head. It was an American Airlines plane. He could see the number on the plane. He could almost see the passengers inside as it went along the highway, started clipping off the high wires and the different light poles along the highway and slammed directly into the side of the Pentagon.
You gave a very clear description earlier of how this aircraft had approached the Pentagon, but did anybody able to identify it as an aircraft associated with an airline?
Absolutely, Peter. The eyewitness I talked to looked up and said it was an American Airlines plane. I saw it clear as could be. It went right over the top of my car and clipped a pole right in front of where my car was.
That was a piece of the building that had been recently finished.
Apparently the new reinforcements made a difference. These red beams that were added. So they're going to have to drop this section of the building?
They are. They're going to have to find a way. They've been propping up the two sides, and then they're going to have to try to take balls and break through so that it's sufficiently stable for people to go in and see that if they can recover whatever bodies are there, and then begin removing the debris.
How far into here do you wander during the course of it?
Oh, I've been in the lower section over there.
When you come out here, what does this do to your sense of resolve?
I don't know that it's there. I don't know that it changes it. It's more about the families and the people and the men and women.
Let's get away from that. Yeah, let's walk over on the pad, I guess. So you're seeing a changing cast of characters here as the hours and the days go by.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when I first came out here, of course, there was no one here except about 6 or 8 people pulling some bodies out of the area. The people had been burned badly and injured. And there wasn't, of course, a vehicle here, except there was a fire truck over here that was on fire. It was the fire truck for this helipad that you see. And a few cars were burning, and the whole building was in flames.
The aircraft came from right over
here. From over here, hit a light.
A couple of light poles.
Yeah, and then came in about between the first and second floor over here. And it went in through 3 rings. I'm told the nose is still in there, very close to the inner courtyard, about 1 ring away.
So the flight recorder may still be in the nose, for all we know.
It's conceivable. When I came around that corner, you could see pieces way up there at the far end of the airplane.
Debris, including a chunk of the plane, was scattered across the Pentagon.
The part on the right of the hole there has already collapsed. The part on the left is sheared off, but underneath all the columns are bent. That's why we're bringing in shoring, steel and wood to shore that up. Because that part there, the fuselage is underneath the collapse, the fuselage of the aircraft. And to get that out, they're worried about this part falling on the rescue.
Did you see the aircraft come down?
No, I did not see the aircraft.
Okay. So, and how were they able to go in, the Urban Search and Rescue, with all the flames?
Well, they've only a few fire personnel have been inside the building so far. And after they confirmed that there was some people, the FBI went in with photographers.
The Pentagon site, pings have been heard from the black box of the plane that crashed into the building. 190 are believed now dead at the Pentagon.
That the blast had made.
Investigation into who caused all this continues to point toward Osama bin Laden. It also slows the hunt for the plane's cockpit voice recorder, which could answer so many questions about the final moments.
I was talking to a friend, a major friend of mine in the Army, who was calling up to ask if I had heard about the World Trade Center, and of course I did. Everybody in the Pentagon did. The whole Pentagon was abuzz that morning with the video footage of that. And she jokingly told me, you know, the Pentagon is probably next. You ought to get out of there. And we sort of chuckled about that. And she said again, I'm serious, David. You really ought to get out of there. And it was at that moment that I've described it as the gates of hell open. And frankly, that there is a vacuum that happens on impact, and the lungs, the air in my lungs were just sucked out.
Well, with me here is Derek Spector, who was actually on the first fire truck to get to the scene. You're from the Virginia Police,
Arlington County Fire Force.